Your lesson essential question is, how do we use key details to retell a story? So you know that the key details are the most important details in a story. We'll be using those most important details to recount or retell a story today. So basically we'll be summarizing. When we're retelling a story, we want to focus on the most important things. So who are the characters? Where does the story take place? What's the setting? And then we'll look at the beginning, the middle, and the end, or the problem, the events that lead to solving the problem, and the end of the story. Characters respond to events and challenges throughout stories and often learn a lesson. We call this lesson a moral or central message. We'll be talking more about that moral or central message tomorrow. Today we're focusing on retelling, so we're going to be looking at how the characters are responding to the events throughout the story. So we'll be thinking about what happens at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story. We'll look for their responses to a problem. So we'll really be looking at their thoughts, what they're thinking, their words, what they're saying in reaction to the problem, their feelings, and of course their actions, what they're doing to solve the problem. So the beginning of the story, that's when we'll identify the problem the characters are facing. So the beginning, we usually find that there's a problem. In the middle, we'll identify how the characters respond throughout the story. So in the middle, how are the characters responding? And then at the end, we'll identify how the problem is solved. We'll find the solution. So we're looking for the problem, how the characters respond, and of course the solution. Those are the most important things that will help us retell a story. And again, tomorrow we'll focus on this lesson. Good storytellers take care to retell or recount the important events of the story in the order they happen. So I want to point out, we have to tell the events in order. We don't want to tell the solution before we tell the problem, right? You can recount a story by telling the important events from the beginning, the middle, and the end, just like we talked about. So let's look at this story, how the elephant got its long nose. A long time ago, elephants had short noses. But one day, a crocodile bit a young elephant on the nose. So first of all, who are our characters? We have the crocodile and the elephant. Now, it sounds like the elephant has a problem, right? What is the elephant's problem? Yeah, the crocodile bit him on the nose. The elephant tried to pull away. As he pulled and pulled, his nose got longer and longer. So I see that the elephant is responding through his actions. He's pulling away from the crocodile. Okay, so as he's pulling, we know his nose is getting longer. So how does the elephant respond? By trying to pull away. When he pulled free, his nose was 5 feet long. He didn't like it at first. Then he found new things to do with his long nose. He reached into the trees to grab leaves to eat. Best of all, it was fun to take baths. So we know that he solved the problem then eventually by actually pulling free. And now he has a really long nose that can help him with all kinds of things. He can grab leaves, he can take baths. So in the end, the elephant's problem was solved. We're going to read this story called Pecos, Bill, and the Mountain Lion. Almost everybody knows about Pecos Bill. He was born in Texas a long time ago. He grew up with a pack of coyotes. He was one of the toughest cowboys in the West. So, first of all, let's identify who the character is. All right, Pecos Bill is our main character. Where does this story take place? What's the setting? You probably said Texas, or you might have said in the West. Pecos Bill had a horse named Flash. He treated Flash like his best friend, but Bill didn't just ride horses. He could ride anything that came along. So I'm going to start by retelling the story to tell you a little bit about Pecos Bill. Pecos Bill has a horse who is his best friend. One day, Bill was riding Flash through the mountains. A giant mountain lion jumped out in front of them. It sounds like Bill and Flash have a problem. Can you find their problem? Yeah, there's a giant mountain lion that jumped out in front of them. The big cat growled and showed its sharp teeth. Bill jumped off Flash and sent him home so he was safe. So we identified the problem at the beginning. Bill was riding Flash and a giant mountain lion jumped out in front of them. Now Bill is starting to react to the problem. So the first thing he did was he jumped off of Flash and sent him home so he was safe. So his first thought was, I need to keep my horse safe. Was Bill scared? Of course not. He grabbed a rattlesnake and made it into a lasso. So now Bill is responding through his actions. What does he do first to try to solve his problem? Yeah, he grabbed a rattlesnake and made it into a lasso. Then he threw the lasso over the mountain lion and pulled it in. The cat knew it was no match for Big Bill, so it gave up. So I see that Bill is finally solving his problem. He throws the lasso over the mountain lion and pulls it in. Quickly, Bill jumped onto its back. Then he rode the mountain lion all the way home. So in the end, the mountain lion gave up. So we know that Bill was able to solve his problem through his actions in this story. So if I were to retell this story, I would start at the beginning of my graphic organizer and I would tell these most important details in my own words. And that's how I could recount the story. So Pecos Bill had a horse who was his best friend. One day Bill was riding Flash and a giant mountain lion jumped out in front of him. Next he sent Flash home so he was safe. After that, he grabbed a rattlesnake and made it into a lasso. The problem was solved when Bill threw the lasso over the mountain lion and pulled it in. Then the mountain lion gave up. Tomorrow, we'll add to our graphic organizer our lesson or our central message or moral that we're learning from this story. But today we're focusing on retelling the story. Let's take a look at this question. Which sentence tells something that happened in the middle of the story? So we want to focus on those events that show how Bill is responding to his problem because that's how we can tell something from the middle of the story. It's really important that when we answer questions like this, that we're going back into the text and looking for that evidence that proves our answers right. So we're looking for a sentence that happens in the middle. We have A, Bill grew up with a pack of coyotes. Well, I go back into the text and I see that when they introduce Bill, they tell me that he grew up with a pack of coyotes. So that happened at the beginning of the story, and that's when they're introducing the character. That doesn't really tell me much about the events of the story. Bill was born in Texas a long time ago. Again, that tells me something about the beginning of the story when they're introducing the character to me. So that's just background information about Bill. That's not really part of the story. Bill sends Flash home to keep him safe. Well, I know that in the beginning of the story, they introduced a problem. There was a giant mountain lion, and he reacted to his problem by jumping off of Flash and sending him home so that he's safe. So that definitely is a reaction to a problem, and it's happening in the middle of the story. I think that could be the answer, but I'm going to read the last option just in case. Bill rides the giant mountain lion back home. That text evidence is way down here. He rode the mountain lion all the way home. Now this happens after the problem is solved. This happens after the mountain lion gave up. So this does not happen in the middle of the story. It happens at the end of the story. So the answer is C. Bill sends Flash home to keep him safe. And of course, like I said, that's his reaction to his problem. So that's definitely something that's happening in the middle of the story. Today you're going to be answering a question like this about the sequence of the story on your own, now that you've learned how to answer a test question like this.